you. Oh, no, I don't. I'll just go ahead and get started, though. Give me a clicker. Yeah, so, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Wion, and I'm getting a clicker, so just 1 second there.
There you go.
Thank you, thank you. So I'm here to talk today about how you build a great experience for your customers in the digital space. A quick little bit about me. I'm from Chicago, so this is probably what I'm going to look like on Saturday or Sunday, or perhaps both days. You got to be ready for it. I'm a Cubs fan. You can't get hopes up too high. Yes. So I love Star Wars and making nerdy things out of food. I love traveling with my boys and running. And if you ever want 5 minutes of my time, just offer to buy me a craft beer. It's easy. So I'm going to talk today about the work I've done at McDonald's and at Kellogg. I've been at Kellogg for about 2 years. Before that, I was the head of social for McDonald's for 5 years. And so we're going to talk about how we build that digital win for consumers. Now, by background, I was actually a journalist first. I went to journalism school. I worked for several magazines and newspapers right after college. And that framework, that Journalism 101 framework of the who, what, when, why, how, where, is actually a really good roadmap that you can use for building an experience for your customers. You need to know who they are, what gets them excited, where they interact, where they spend their time, when they interact, where they spend their time online, how they decide and buy, and then why you matter to them. If you can answer all those questions, you will start to really understand how to build an experience the right way. This is the kind of hub that you want to build, one that looks at the digital site itself, but then social and PR and search. At Kellogg, we put a lot of our digital programs on pack. In fact, one of the programs I run, about a third of the traffic to that website comes from people reading the cereal boxes. It's called openforbreakfast.com. Check it out if you're on your laptops or iPads. But it's the experience that we've given our consumers to tell them what's in their food and where it comes from, because it's a very simple question. Okay, so let's start off with the who. Who are your customers? Well, you think you know that, but it's not always an obvious thing, because the great thing about being a marketer in this day and age is that you have so much data to go through. You've got sales data, you've got customer information portals, you've got a CRM system even, along with all the media trends. But then there's so much data out there, it's hard to parse through. It's hard to really understand, okay, well, we know a lot of information about these people, but who are these people? And so, I use the example at McDonald's. We knew the big stats of things about our customers at both these organizations. We know, for example, that 1 in 10 people went to McDonald's today. Roughly 32 million people go to a McDonald's restaurant every day in the US. So that's a big audience of people that we have, which is great, but even with a big marketing budget like McDonald's, you can't advertise to 32 million people every day and still use your dollars effectively. We also know that 90% of Americans have cereal in their cupboard. Everybody eats cereal, okay? But again, saying we're going to market to everybody is not going to work if you're trying to build a digital experience that's going to be meaningful for folks. So what do? How do we get there? We have to parse down looking at your social data, look at focus groups, surveys, media trends. Those are the 4 tools that I found most useful to really trying to understand your audiences to build that experience. You also have to spend a lot of time online. And so it's interesting, because I've seen marketers who want to just look at the reports of information and try to glean it from there. And that's useful. But then I've also seen other people who just want to be on Twitter and look just at Twitter as the only source. You need to look at the micro and the macro. If you're looking at reports only, you don't spend time on Twitter or Facebook looking for those conversations, you're going to miss a lot of really important context that's going on there. So what are some of the things that we learned when we started doing this type of research at McDonald's? Well, we learned that, not surprisingly, McDonald's is a very polarizing brand, but also that the people who hated us, the people who hated the brand, generally we weren't going to be able to sway them. They had a fundamental and oftentimes very passionate dislike for the brand. And at first we said, okay, well, you got to hug your haters, as Jay Bear will say. And we said, well, let's go, we're not that bad a company. We should change their mind. The food is better than we realize. But then over time, we came to realize ourselves that the amount of time we spent trying to convince people who hated us that we weren't so bad was time wasted. Because for every minute we're doing that, there's fans and customers who aren't getting the recognition that they deserve in our spaces. What we did find is that there are a lot of McDonald's fans out there. In fact, generally speaking, for every negative comment on Twitter about McDonald's, there's 2 positive comments of people saying, hey, you know what, I'm loving it, or I just had a Big Mac and it was great, or when's McRib coming back? And so what we found in this research is that McDonald's fans love free stuff, not a huge headline, because who doesn't like free stuff? But they also love high fives. The most common thing that people would tweet to McDonald's is, I'm loving it. Get hundreds of those every single day. And at first we didn't respond to those, but then we kind of realized, you know what, that's akin to someone like wanting to go like this, hey man, high five, and we just leave them hanging. And so over time we started to respond to those more and more often. And the amount of just positive reaction, excited reaction we get from a random person in Idaho who tweeted, I'm loving it, when we tweet back, and we're loving you too. He's like, oh my God, McDonald's, and they screenshot it and they put it back out on Twitter. It's just great to see that passion that's there. Something else that we've realized is that everyone eats cereal, but not in the same way. Cereal is for breakfast, but it's also just as common as a snack. People eat it for dessert. In fact, my kids eat it for dessert most nights. It's even an ingredient in a lot of recipes. And so by looking at these things, we're starting to see, yes, we're marketing to everybody as big food brands, but there's little nuances that you need to start picking up, little signals in that big data that are going to be really important. The biggest aha in all this, it's not really an aha at all. People want to know what's in their food. It's such a simple, common thing that it takes years of research to be able to see that, of course. So that's not surprising at all, though, because trust in U.S. institutions is not great right now. You probably can't read that, but the military is up on top. Congress is on the bottom. President's in the middle there. But this is a 2-year-old study, so I imagine whichever candidate wins, that's probably going to drop a little bit too. Trust is important for brands because trust is your best indicator of purchase intent. There's some really great research from the Edelman PR agency looking at trust in brands and how that drives preference and purchase intent. And it's a very black and white line across the top there. If I trust you, I'm 80% more likely to buy more of your products. If I don't, I'm 63% less likely. That trust also carries over into the social world too. If I trust you, I'm more likely to defend you online. If I don't, I'm going to bash you. I'm going to become one of those haters. Consumers expect transparency, and trust is the key that builds transparency. That's why that program I mentioned, openforbreakfast.com, that is where we are sharing stories about how we make our food, what's in it, where it comes from. But we also are actively asking consumers to send us questions. Here's our story. What's your question? And then we take those questions and turn them into content for the site as well. Okay, so that's a little bit of how we approach that roadmap for figuring out who these people are that we're trying to reach online. Next is the what. What gets them excited? Well, let's go back to Psych 101. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You look at some of those areas there. The idea of needing to feel safe and loved and belonged and to express yourself. Those are things that have been part of human nature for as long as we've been around. But social tools just provide an outlet for people to be able to do those things, to have that self-actualization. You could almost look at it like there's a social hierarchy of needs. At the bottom, everybody wants free stuff, of course. But then after that, people want to talk about themselves. I mean, that's what social media is about. It's about talking about yourself and connecting with others. They want to feel heard. They want to feel special. And then for a brand to participate, that top level of the pyramid, that's where we really want our fans to get to. So to do that, we have to understand what gets people excited. Now, in the food area, there's a lot of things that people get excited about. I mean, food is passion. Food is about love. And we see that expressed in so many different ways. Some interesting angles that we've seen, though, is that people get really passionate about free from food. So this is GMO-free, this is gluten-free, this is sugar-free or dairy-free or whatever it is. This is becoming not just a moniker, but a badge of honor for some people. This is a blogger who writes about gluten-free recipes. Her blog is called Gluten is My Bitch. That's how she identifies herself. Good, great for her. That's what her passion is. And so seeing those different passion points around food. We also see an increasing number of people looking to not just be conspicuous in their consumption, but also in their conservation. About a third of the questions that we get at the Open for Breakfast website is about the sustainability of our foods. So are we following sustainable agriculture practice? Is the palm oil fair and free trade and rainforest certified? We also see that food porn is still a big deal. And whether you're talking about something that is a stack of pancakes with lots of droopy bacon on it, or something that is just a casserole recipe that somebody put up online, people sharing pictures of their food is still something that makes people really excited. Because, a dash of narcissism never hurts anything. But when you're thinking about the passion points and what drives people to action, you need to think about the reality of the thumb scroll. That's how people talk right now. You communicate, I see about half of you right now, you're talking like this with people. And so the challenge for a marketer is we're competing with all of those other pictures and videos and other things that are scrolling by. And so it used to be that, okay, we need to get somebody to come to our website and stay there for more than 8 seconds. Now it's we need to have content that's so interesting that it makes someone want to stop in the scroll and actually look at what we do. And the way we think about it now as a company is that our competition isn't necessarily General Mills or other cereal brands. Our competition is friends and family and all the other things that are more important to a person on their social feed than our really cool story about cereal. So a couple other things that we see really drives and motivates people. Unboxing and food challenges are a big deal. My 2 kids, pretty much won't open a toy unless they make a video of themselves opening a toy right now. You guys know what unboxing is, right? Yeah. So in the 3rd and 4th grade set, that's a big deal. And so that's a really easy way to get people excited. And fans start younger and younger. These little kids are the ones who are driving a lot of social media content these days. And of course, bacon, because who doesn't love bacon? Who doesn't get excited about bacon? I mean, it's the next best thing to bourbon. Thought that would play better here. Okay, so, all right, so we know a little bit about who these people are and what makes them excited. Next, we need to look at when are they online. There's a lot of research where you can see how people use social media platforms at different time periods. This is some from Buffer that shows activity on Twitter by hour of the day, okay? So if we look at this from the McDonald's perspective, though, we see a little bit of a different chart. So we saw a spike in the middle of the day around lunchtime, and then we see a big uptick starting about 5, 6 o'clock at night. This was interesting. This is also a problem because at the McDonald's corporate, it's an office, and people are usually there like 8, 9 to 5 or 6 at night. So we weren't online at the time when our customers were talking about us the most. So that showed us that, okay, we need to be online at the same time that our customers are. So we built a 24-hour social care system. And so previously, we had some folks in marketing communications just answering tweets as necessary. We partnered with the customer service team, retrained some call center folks to move from phone to Twitter, and then set up a 3rd shift so that they could cover Twitter overnight, because that's when we were seeing a lot of questions and issues coming up. So we did that, and it worked really well. We saw a 15% increase in customer satisfaction based on Twitter. We weren't doing anything necessarily that different. We were just doing it at a different time of day, so it was a lot more effective for our consumers. Saturday morning is still a thing. On the Kellogg side, the number of questions that we get submitted and the number of tweets we see that start off, so I was eating my cereal this morning and I saw this on the box, and here's my question for you. We see that all the time, almost every week. So just as a dad, I think back to when I was a kid eating cereal on Saturday morning. I was glad to know that's still there. You also need to look for those seasonal trends that are out there as well. And so this is another really quick example. We produced a video that shows the farm-to-table story of Rice Krispies. So Rice Krispies, it's rice grown on a farm, it's harvested, it's baked, it's popped, it's put in a bowl, and comes to you. 15-second video, really, really simple to do. We posted it on Facebook in mid-November timeframe. We did this because we know that's when people start to put the Rice Krispie sales naturally start to tick up in November, December because of holidays. Rice Krispie treats for holidays are a really easy thing to make. So we knew that was going to be a good deal. We didn't realize we got 39% engagement on that on Facebook. I won't call it viral, but this is about as close to viral as I've seen our company do in a while. So just knowing when to hit those marks is another key thing of trying to build a really great experience for your audiences. Okay, so where do you do this? Two things, it's not necessarily on Facebook. Facebook tends to get a lot of the attention and a lot of the glory in terms of social just because of its audience size, but it's not the place that you should necessarily be. There's so many different ways and sites out there. You need to really spend some time and say, okay, people are on Facebook, does that mean my customers are on Facebook? And so part of that is thinking about communities, not necessarily just platforms. Communities like Reddit and LinkedIn and the Chive, even in 4chan, these are places where people are having really specific conversations about specific topics. And it may be one of these areas that could be a better fit to drive deeper engagement and a better experience for yourself, for your audiences, for your customers, than just saying, okay, well, we got Facebook, we got Twitter, right? We're covered, right? No, not necessarily. Come on, clicker. Yeah, shake it. Okay. Then the other thing that you need to do is think about the communities by the behaviors that you see, and then also how you want to interact with people. So this chart here is an exercise that I've gone through at both brands, where we chart out, all right, what are the channels that we think we want to be on, and then why, and then what will our policy be for following people, how often will we post, how often will we retweet, and all those things. This is actually one for me personally. This is my personal branding one. So I just did this to have my own exercise, thinking about, all right, well, what I would do on YouTube, and how is that different from what I would do on LinkedIn? It's a good guide, even if you're not working for a brand. It's a good guide just to help think about your own personal brand and how you might want to fashion that and put those things together. Something else in thinking about where your audiences might be is look at some of the smaller networks that are out there, some of the niche ones. I'm going to talk about two of them today. First is Runkeeper. Runkeeper is an app where you turn it on, you go for a run. It tracks your time, your distance, your speed. It even draws a little map of the area that you went running around. I run a lot, but I'm really slow. So my network on Runkeeper is only 5 people, because I don't want most people to know how actually slow I am, especially because I ran track in high school. But those 5 people are folks that I'm really tight with, the folks that I would definitely go running with because I know they're slow too. Another one is Untapped. So who's heard of Untapped? That's a lot more than I thought. All right, you guys are good. For those who don't know, Untapped is a beer app. So I'm a big craft beer nerd, and Untapped is like my diary. So instead of, my status isn't what am I doing right now, it's what am I drinking right now. And I use this to track things, because I do like to rate beers, and I have my favorites and things. And so my network on here is my other craft beer nerd friends, and we'll talk about different beers that we like and different places to go. One of the cool things about Untapped here is that you can earn badges for different accomplishments. So if you drink 5 beers in 5 different states, you unlock the traveler badge. So there's a little bit of an achievement in there too. Another space to look at is music curation. So with Spotify and other sites like that, there's a lot of opportunities to curate music and to connect with people in a different way. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a big brand thing too. If you've got a specialty in an area, you could build a song list of here's the best music to listen to while I'm writing. Here's the best music to listen to while I'm doing photography. And those kind of lists are a different way to find and interact with people. So you can also build your own communities as well. There's actually different kinds of software out there to let you develop a community around a specific type of interest. I've actually done this twice in my career. I'll talk about those momentarily. One was on Facebook, a community that we built. This was back in the agency, when I was working for an agency. Johnson & Johnson was one of our clients. And they had a medicine that was for treating ADHD. And realized with them that it was a crowded marketplace, they were late to the game, we needed to do something different. And so we came up with the idea of building a community for moms and dads, parents of kids who have ADHD. Because if you've got a child with a condition or special needs, you want to hear from other people like you, other people who are facing some of the same issues and challenges. And so we built this on Facebook, but it wasn't about, hey, we're building a place for advertising. It was a place where we're sharing information. There were no ads on the site except sponsored by this Johnson & Johnson company. What we put on there were tips, articles written by other moms on how to manage ADHD. We started off hoping to get 5,000 people in the first year. We got 30,000 members in 90 days. Because there was just such an unmet need for this type of information out there. Another community that we built was the McDonald's blogger community called McDonald's Family Arches. And this came from, again, identifying an unmet need in digital. We had a lot of bloggers contacting McDonald's for information. They wanted to know more about how the food was made. They wanted to talk to some of our staff. And we realized that there's information about a company that we're not sharing right now. Not that we wouldn't share, just it wasn't something for this glitzy side of McDonald's.com. So we built this place for bloggers to go, very simple registration, and through there they would get access to different types of information. So we would do Happy Meal toy giveaways. We did focus groups on here. Bloggers had the opportunity to ask us more and deeper and have better conversations than they would just through kind of a main website. Over time, we built that up and up and up, and currently it's about 12,000 members of the community with a reach of 10 million people. And so by building a community that met a need for this group, we were able to really do unique and different things in trying to get our information out there. Okay. Also, you look offline to things. You know, conferences like this are a great way to find those influencers and connectors and build new and different opportunities that will lead to you having better ideas for how you interact with them online. Okay, so then how? How do your customers research and make purchase decisions? Okay, so you've got their attention somehow because you know who they are, you know what excites them, you know when they're online. How do they do that research? How do you get them in a funnel to go buy something? Well, it starts off with Google. That still hasn't changed. You know, Google's still the #1 place people go to start research. But then often it goes right off of Google onto review sites. So your Angie's List, your Yelp, your TripAdvisor, Amazon reviews, even Glassdoor on the HR and employee side. If you're selling a product, part of your strategy should be on how you manage these review sites because they are informing people's decisions on where to go. You see TripAdvisor signs all over the place. I'm #1 on TripAdvisor. That needs to be part of your strategy as well. You need to look at Pinterest as well. So there's a company called Ahology, and they're a Pinterest advertising platform, and they've done all kinds of research. Pinterest, you don't hear about it as much anymore, but it still has 150 million active users globally every day. Of those, 89% of them use Pinterest to help influence their purchase decision. Of that 89%, 58% of them use Pinterest in a grocery store to look up information about food and recipes. So for a company like Kellogg that's in a grocery store trying to sell food, that's a huge, huge place for us and seems to only be growing in importance. Okay, the other thing that's motivating people, so this will be a test from earlier material. Who is this guy? PewDiePie. I know you would know. Okay, so you don't know this guy, but your kids know this guy. PewDiePie is one of the top YouTube bloggers out there. Both my boys watch every single video multiple times whenever he publishes something. I gave a talk at my son's school to 4th graders about online advertising and the internet and how to be safe. I threw up a picture of this guy. You would have thought I brought a celebrity into the room. The kids were like, "It's PewDiePie, I love that guy." He's more famous than Beyonce to a lot of these kids. And he's not the only one either. There's another kid named Evan Tube HD, who does mostly unboxing videos. So his videos are, hey, I got a new toy, I'm gonna open up the toy and take it out of the box. My 5-year-old son wanted to invite Evan to his birthday party because Evan is one of his best friends. So the ability of these YouTube stars to influence decisions. If Evan gets a toy and Evan likes it, my son wants that toy. It's such a one-to-one right now. We actually did a challenge with a YouTube star where we sent them 20 different flavors of Pringles and said, okay, your challenge is to eat and rank all 20 flavors. This ended up being about a, 18-minute video, which 18-minute video, who's gonna watch 18 minutes of someone eating Pringles? But people do. And we actually got 15 million views of this video in 2 weeks. So again, there's weird little niches and very different spaces where your customers are spending time, and you need to figure out how to get there. Oh yeah, by the way, PewDiePie, correct me if I'm wrong, $20 million? Isn't that his estimated annual income? The EvanTube kid here, his estimated income is $5 million per year. So guess what all the 4th graders want to do now? They want to be YouTube stars. Okay. So there's lots of different ways to work with influencers through networks, building a private community like the McDonald's community I mentioned, through recruiting, through giving them direct experiences. Influencers are important because they are oftentimes the ones who are influencing the purchase decisions of your customers. Okay. So you've done all those things, okay? So you understand who your customers are, what gets them excited, when they're online, where they're spending their time, and how they're making the purchase decision. Through each one of those, you'll start to pick up those clues to that trail to say, okay, when I'm building this experience, I know people are excited about food, and they want to know what's in their food, so let's build a hub about answering their questions about food. It seems like such a no-brainer, but you've got to go through the process to make sure that you're doing this the right way, and you're coming to a really solid conclusion. Okay, lastly, why? This is the question that I've asked by senior leadership at both McDonald's and Kellogg's probably every week. Why are we doing all of this stuff? Okay, well, there's actually a bunch of really simple reasons why we do this. One is that social, it's not free anymore, but it certainly is pretty cheap. Again and again, social programs are showing a dollar-for-dollar value over traditional media. That's not new news to anybody here. But even when we measure it through an ROI basis, when we measure it through cost per impression basis, social continues to win in these areas. That's where your customers are. This is also a very effective way, cheap way to market to them. Go. Battery's dead. Did that work this time? Okay. Another reason why is that customer trust can save or kill your business. There's some really great research. There's a book by Al Golan, the founder of the Golan PR firm, that talks about the impact of trust in a time of crisis. So in the basic way that, the basic concept that he puts out there is building trust in your brand and company is like building up a bank account. You're gonna have some negative consequence at some point in time, but if you're way up here in terms of trust, your fall down is not gonna be as bad or as hard if you start off down here and you're going really, really low. And so the things that you can do to build an experience that builds trust for your customers are gonna definitely pay off for you in the long run. You can also reach very specific audiences through this. So, I was talking with some guys at a table earlier today. At McDonald's, we used to say our customer is everybody. 1 in 10 Americans came to a McDonald's restaurant today. So we're marketing to people between the ages of between the ages of 18 and 54. Well, even if you have a lot of money, it's hard to market to everybody between the ages of 18 and 54. And so as you peel back your audience and you see those different nuances, you can see very specific targets. And so in the case of one of our programs, it was about thanking teachers, okay? Specifically thanking teachers for helping kids get off to a great start to their day for Kellogg's. And so we said, you know what, we want to market to teachers, but how do we do that? So we go to Facebook and say, okay, well, we want teachers and parents that have 2 kids, because they probably are interacting with teachers as well, that show a demonstrated interest in education. If it says PTA in their profile somewhere, or if we can get that from some other data sources, that's a big plus too, and folks who are active in their communities. So for this one program, our advertising audience went from a couple million people across the US down to about 4,000 to 5,000. Those 4,000 to 5,000 shared it on an average rate of 35%. So we didn't we weren't going wide, we were going narrow, but we're going narrow to a group that would take us back out wide again. And so by building these experiences, things like that are only happening with an experience like this. Another reason why you should try to build a great experience is that you can uncover new opportunities. This is a screenshot from some of the social monitoring software that McDonald's used to use. We realized that when we're analyzing everything that's being said on Twitter, there's a lot of people who were complaining about the restaurant service. Not a surprise. Sometimes I'm sure everyone's gone through. You go through the drive-through and they forget to put something in the bag, or the fries are cold, or you ask for no pickles and you got extra pickles, something like that. We realized through social monitoring that this was an entirely new opportunity for us to help make customer service better by creating scorecards for each individual restaurant based on what we saw on Twitter. Did this? Service improved. It's a very simple thing. Also, what we've seen, you remember what I mentioned before, that transparency is the key to trust. I can't show you all the data that we have on this, but consistently at both McDonald's and Kellogg's, when we've done a trust-building type of program, we've seen purchase intent go up by anywhere between 5% and 15%. It's something, again, if people trust your brand, if you've built a really good experience for them to learn more and build that transparency up, it will lead to more sales later on. Okay. Then lastly is you want to build experiences like this. So you want to build a good experience for your consumers so that you can have an opportunity to give them that wonderful service that will make a customer and fan for life. So in this case, the customer that we were dealing with was Evan. Okay? So Evan is a 4-year-old boy, and like most 4-year-old boys, he loves McDonald's, he loves superheroes, he's collecting the Marvel Comics superhero Happy Meal set. His mom hears that the promotion is ending soon, and he's just missing the one toy. So she drives to McDonald's to try to get that last one. They're pulling away. She looks up, and Evan's crying. She's like, honey, what's wrong? And he's really sad because he opens up his box like, Mom, I got the girl's toy. He's devastated. Now, in the grand scheme of all the things that a big brand like McDonald's has to deal with, one little boy upset because of a toy isn't a big deal, unless you're that boy's mom. Then, yeah, you just ruined my kid's day, or at least this hour, which means my next hour is going to be really tough, too. But what this mom did, she didn't drive back around through the restaurant. She didn't call customer service. She went on Twitter and said, hey, McDonald's, you ruined my kid's day. Thanks a lot, jerks. But not nicer than that, but that's essentially what she said. But we had our digital customer service team in place. So they see the tweet, they jump into action. And then we sent her a card. We had cards printed up that we would put a stamp on and go old snail mail out to someone that says, hey, sorry about the problem you had. Here's a coupon. Can you give us another shot? And they literally say, you tweeted, we listened, because we want to show that we're really listening to our customers out there. So sent Wolverine. That was the missing toy. He's got a full collection now. He's happy all around. That's one small interaction with one of our smallest customers, but we built an experience so that we could see an issue and take care of an issue. And then his mom, who, by the way, is one of the top 20 female bloggers out there, is a customer for life. So with that, I'll say thank you.